Right, so let's open up IntelliJ and we're going to change a few things. So first, go ahead and create a class and call it student and then repository. And make sure that this is an interface. Now this interface extends and then JPA and then repository. And here we have to pass a few things. So one is T, which extends an object, and then the ID. So the data type for the first argument is student. And then the second one is the ID. So the data type of the student ID. So here, if I go to student, the data type is long. So here, say long. And there we go. So this is pretty much all we have to do in order to interact with our database, and you'll see in a second. Now, open up the project, expand it, and let's create a new class. We're going to call this as student and then service. And this class will handle all of the business logic. And in here, I want to basically, so in here, I want to have a reference to the repository that we've just created. So private, final, and then student, and then repository, or actually student and then repository. There we go. And here I'm going to say add, and then all args constructor, and add, and then service, so that we can use dependency injection to inject this class in the controller. So also in this student repository, we can say that this is add repository. However, it's not required. So it's not required because of this extension right here. Now, if I go back in here, let's have a method that will give us back all students. So here I'm going to say public list of, and then student, and then get all, and then students. And ideally you would want like a pagination, but let's just say here we're going to return and then student repository. And then if I press dot, you can see that we have all of these methods: find all, save, equals, save all, count, exists, find by, get one. So all of this is for free. And this will actually execute some SQL behind the scenes without us having to do anything. So find all, and you can see that this also takes, for example, the pageable and sorting. So let's just keep the default method, and there we go. Now let's open up the student controller, and in here we're going to do the following. We want to say private, and then final student, and then service, and then student service. Also, let's have the add and then OR constructor, and this is the same as this. So here, this is the same as this. It's the exact same thing, but I don't want to manage this. So this is why I'm saying add and then OR constructor. And to be honest, this is it. Now, the final thing that we have to do is we can remove all of this and here as well. And now we can say student service dot get all students. So here we are using the n-tier architecture. So we have the controller, we have the service, and we also have the repository. Now let's go ahead together and restart the application. There we go. Now, if I go back to my web browser, and here, remember before we had 2 students. Now, if I refresh, this actually has 0 students. And this is because, so basically it's actually working, but this is because in here, if I do a select star count from student, we basically wiped up all of the data. We wiped up all of the data because of this property right here. Create and then drop. So what I'm going to do is simply, so I'm going to open up the SQL file again. And in here, let me just grab a couple of students. And I'm going to basically collapse this and then paste that, enter, and this worked. If I go back in here and then reload, you can see that this now is coming from the database. So 6, or actually it was more than 6, so 14 students. So this is working beautifully. Next, let's go ahead and start the front end and see that we can actually get the students as well from our front end.